Chapter 1, Lesson 2, the chapter reference is page 12. That's the starting page. There are two learning target goals: solving a two-step equation versus a simple one-step equation like 1.1 was. And then the second learning target goal, I can write an equation. This is nice because I'm jumping right into example 1, solving a two-step equation. Two-step usually refers to or indicates there'll be two operations to do, meaning multiply, divide, add, or subtract. So in this case, one option would be to subtract 15 first. So you want to take away 15. If you go underneath, that's fine. If you subtract this way, that's fine. So you're subtracting 15. Obviously, 1.5x plus 15 minus 15 is just 1.5 times x plus 0 equals 9. The first operation that I did was I used subtraction. The second operation, this is multiplication, so I'm going to divide. Notice I'm using inverse operations to solve. And as long as I divide both sides by the same value, it keeps the equation true. I'm going to divide by 1.5. I'm going to divide by 1.5. Technically, let's cancel those 1.5. Divided by 1.5 is 1 times x. So what I did was this, because this is times. That's 1. 1 times x, or x, equals 9 divided by 1.5. So how many 1.5s are in 9? If you don't know, do the math. Should be 6. Use a calculator or do the work on your paper. So we're doing 9 divided by 1.5, and it is 6. Perfect. So in this case, after how many years is the tree 24 feet tall? 6 years. Looks like every year it starts growing 1.5 feet. That's where the initial height was when we started this. The other option would be to pick a different operation to do first. And in this case, if you want to, a lot of people want to divide by 1.5. You can do that. But the problem is not to do it like that, because you missed this 15. You have to divide everything by 1.5. Everything meaning each term by 1.5. You have the 15. You can't ignore it. So let's hopefully get the same answer as 6. So 1.5 divided by 1.5 is 1x plus, how many 1.5s go into 15? If you don't know, use a calculator, grab your phone, do it on your paper. 15 divided by 1.5, 1.5s into 15. Wow, how many 1.5s into 15 would be 10? And it makes sense if there are 6 and 9. And then take 24 and divide it by 1.5. So 24 divided by 1.5 is 16. So the point for me doing this is some people don't divide first, but sometimes it's helpful to divide first. But don't forget about that middle term. And obviously you can see when you subtract 10 from both sides, you also get 6. The two operations, the two steps that I did, I divided and then I subtracted. Same two, different order. Example 2 is solve this equation, and it looks a little messy, but we're going to clean it up. So before we solve this two-step equation, 2 steps, meaning 2 operations, again, write yourself some notes on the side like I'm doing. 2 operations, meaning we have these to pick from, whoops, plus and a subtraction. We're going to clean things up. combining like terms. So I'm going to grab those two. So I can see that 8x's minus 6x's, 8 of the same number minus 6 of the same number, is 2 of the same number. Minus 25 equals negative 35. So we're back to looking at a simpler problem. If things don't start simplifying nicely, back up and start over. All right, I'm going to use two operations. I could divide by 2 first, but you know what? In this case, I'm not going to, because this isn't going to work out nicely, and neither is 25 divided by 2. This does, which is fine, but then I'm dealt with 2 fractions left. If this was an even number and this was an even number, I'd divide by 2 right away. So in this case, I am going to add first. So I'm going to add 25, and I'm going to add 25. I am left with 2x plus 0 equals negative 35 plus 25 is negative 10. So the first step I did was in addition. The second step I am doing would be division right here. So 2 divided by 2 is 1 times x is x. Negative 10 divided by 2, only 2 is going to 10, 5, and negative. That's a good one. Using the good old distributor property. So before we start solving using 2 steps, we want to clean it up. In this case, there aren't really, I mean, these are like terms and this is like term, but we have parentheses, and the only way to get rid of those in this case, because we cannot do anything with this. They're different terms, or they're just left like that. So the only thing we have to work with is to get rid of the parentheses, and we can't get rid of them by putting these two together, so we're going to use the distributor property. So this means 2 of these. If you want to write 1.5x plus, 1 minus 5x plus 1 minus 5x, that's what that means. Do it that way if you want, which is 2, 1 plus 1 is 2, minus 5x and minus 5x would be minus, 10x. That's what it simplifies, because you have 2 of these. So I should get this. So let's see if I do. So we have 2 1s, which is 2, and then we have 2 of those. Negative. So 2 of those would be negative 10x or minus 10x. Same thing. Clean that up. Plus 4 is not in the parentheses, so I just bring it down, equals negative 8. Still not done. I use a distributor property, just get rid of the parentheses. Now I am going to, I want to combine like terms just to make things easier. I have a 2 and a plus 4. That is with the 10x, the negative. So I have 6 minus 10x equals negative 8. Now I can start using my 2 operations to solve this 2-step equation. And again, you can divide by 6, that's just garbage. You can divide by 10, not good, because you're getting fractions that don't turn out nicely, meaning into whole numbers. So what I want to do is, my whole goal is to get the value of this x. So if I can get the x by itself, isolate the variable, I'm good to go. So let's get rid of this. That's by the x term. That's a plus 6. So I'm going to take away 6. However you want to write it. Minus 6, minus 6. So we can switch those using the commutative property. So 6 minus 6 is gone. I'm left with 10x. I'm getting closer to the x equals negative 8 minus 6 is negative 14. I am almost done. So the first operation I did was subtraction. The second is, let's multiply. So I'm going to divide by negative 10, divide by negative 10. So the second operation was division. I get x equals negative divided by negative is a positive, 14 tenths. 7/5. If you want to leave it like that, that's fine. If you can't handle that improper fraction, change it to a mixed number. It doesn't matter. Either one is good for me. You can stop here. Whew. Last example, I'm thinking. I always try to involve a real life problem. So use the table to find the number of miles you need to run on Friday so that your average or the mean number of miles run per day is 1.5. All right, so you're trying to find Fridays. And the whole thing, it says so. So your mean number of miles per day is 1.5. So your mean is, the mean is 1.5. Okay? Notice all this garbage, the mean is 1.5. So the mean number of miles you run per day, that's this, is, there's your equals, 1.5. So how do we find the mean? Well, we can do that. Let's get rid of that word and put down 2 plus 0 plus 1.5 plus 0 plus the number of miles on Friday divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how you get the mean of 1.5. So now we have to solve this. Let me see if I, oh man, I thought I was done. Oh, okay. Woo! Start by writing an equation, which we did. And there we have it. This whole value is divided by 5. This is where you can combine some like terms. You can combine those, which is 3.5. I'm going to work over here now. 3.5 plus x equals 1.5. This is being divided by 5. All right. This is stuck together. You can't do anything with that. That whole thing is being divided by 5. So the thing you can do is multiply both sides by 5, because this is really together before you divide by 5. So we're going to multiply both sides by 5. Hopefully you see that, because it cancels nicely. So this is together. That's why it's still together. Equals 7.5. So the first step was I multiplied. That's my first operation. My next operation is going to be subtracting. And we get x equals 4 miles. And it makes sense because you have 2 days that you did 0 miles. This needs to be a little higher to get your mean to be 1.5. It might help you to keep parentheses there, because you do have to add those first before divide by 5. Maybe that'll help you see that those are together. Okay? And lastly, all I want you to do for this one is to write an equation. Landon recently took a taxi ride from the train station to a park. The taxi driver charged $18.90. How far was the train station from the park? So I want you to write an equation to represent the situation. So there is the information you need. And I will check this when I check the notes. So I'm looking for that one equation, just the equation, and then solving these three. Okay? So you do have 4 on your own. Fourth one is just writing the equation for the taxi prop. Just write an equation. If you want to solve the equation, if you solve it correctly, showing all the steps, I'll give you extra credit. I gotta stop this before it gets too long, okay?